Subscribe now. Join the family. A big surprise drops at 1,000 subscribers. I still remember the sound of my own boots on that porch. Steady.
Proud.
My daughter's small hand wrapped around two of my fingers, her excitement bubbling over with every step. I had just been promoted to colonel. 15 years of sacrifice, of missed birthdays, of sleepless nights in places I couldn't even tell my family about. It had all led to this moment. I thought I was walking home to celebrate. I had no idea I was walking straight into an ambush. Because standing in my own living room, waiting for me like a scene from someone else's nightmare, were my husband and the woman he'd been sleeping with. And in his hands, a folder. Divorce papers. But here's the thing nobody in that room understood yet. Before the night ended, they would learn exactly whose name was on the deed to that house. And it wasn't his. My name is Colonel Sarah Carter, and for most of my adult life, the Army was my calling and my family was my anchor. I met my husband, Daniel, when I was a young lieutenant, full of dreams and discipline. He was charming back then, supportive even, telling everyone how proud he was of his soldier wife. We had our daughter, Emily, 6 years into the marriage. She became my whole world outside of my uniform. Every deployment, every training exercise, every long stretch away from home, I carried her photo in my chest pocket, right over my heart. Daniel stayed home. He worked sometimes but never held a job for long. I never complained. I told myself that was our arrangement. I served my country, he held down the house. I sent money home every month. I paid for the mortgage, the bills, Emily's school. I built that house from the ground up, literally signing every paper myself while stationed halfway across the world. I trusted him completely. That trust would soon feel like the most expensive mistake of my life. About a year before my promotion, I started noticing changes. Daniel became distant on our video calls. His excuses got thinner. He'd disappear for hours, claiming errands that never quite added up. I told myself it was stress. Long-distance marriages are hard, I reminded myself. I focused on my work, earning respect from my commanders, preparing for the promotion board that would make me one of the youngest colonels in my unit's history. Meanwhile, my sister Rachel, who lived nearby, began sending me strange messages. "Are you sure everything's okay at home?" she'd ask. I brushed it off. I didn't want to believe anything was wrong. Not when I was so close to the biggest achievement of my career. Little did I know, Rachel had seen Daniel more than once with another woman, a woman named Vanessa, at the local diner, at the grocery store, even picking Emily up from school together like they were already a family. Rachel didn't want to break my heart before my ceremony. She waited. She wanted proof first. The day I got my colonel's rank pinned on my shoulders was one of the proudest of my life. My commanding officer shook my hand and said words I'll never forget. "Colonel Carter, the Army doesn't just need soldiers. It needs leaders who never break, even when it hurts." I didn't know then just how true that sentence would become. I called Daniel that night, my voice shaking with joy. "I'm coming home," I told him. "I want to walk in that door holding Emily's hand as a colonel." He sounded oddly quiet.
"Sure," he said.
"We'll be here." I didn't catch the coldness in his voice. I was too happy to notice. I landed, picked up Emily from her grandmother's house, and walked those final steps home with my daughter's hand in mine, just like I'd imagined for months. I opened the door expecting balloons, maybe a small dinner, my husband's proud smile. Instead, I found Daniel standing in the living room next to Vanessa. On the coffee table sat a folder. Divorce papers. Vanessa didn't even try to hide her smirk. She crossed her arms and said, "Pack your bags, soldier." As if I were the intruder in my own home. I looked at Daniel. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "It's over, Sarah," he mumbled. "I won the house. I've already spoken to a lawyer." Emily's small hand tightened around mine, confused and scared by the tension in the room. My heart was pounding, my mind spinning through years of sacrifice, of trust, of everything I had given to this family. But something inside me stayed calm, because unlike them, I actually knew the truth about that house. I just smiled. I looked at both of them, and simply smiled. "Okay," I said. Vanessa blinked, clearly expecting tears, screaming, maybe a fight. Instead, she got quiet composure. "What's so funny?" she snapped, annoyed that I wasn't falling apart the way she'd imagined. I let the silence stretch for a moment, savoring it. Then I said the words that would flip their entire plan upside down. "Actually, this house belongs to my mother." Daniel's face went pale. Vanessa's smirk vanished instantly. Years earlier, when Daniel first started struggling to hold a steady job, my mother, a retired schoolteacher with careful savings, had quietly purchased the house in her own name. It was her gift to Emily's future, she said, a way to make sure my daughter always had a safe place to grow up no matter what happened between Daniel and me. Only my mother, my sister, and I knew this detail. Daniel believed the mortgage papers he signed years ago still applied, never realizing my mother had bought out the loan and transferred the deed quietly after his repeated missed payments and irresponsible spending nearly cost us the property. "You don't own this house, Daniel," I said calmly. "You never did. You've just been living in it." I turned to Vanessa. "And you, packing your bags to move in? You might want to reconsider." Daniel's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Vanessa's face twisted between disbelief and panic. "You're lying," she hissed. I simply pulled out my phone and showed them the deed documentation my mother had scanned and sent me months ago, just in case something like this ever happened. My mother, it turned out, had suspected Daniel's behavior long before I did. Daniel sank onto the couch, the divorce papers now meaningless in his shaking hands. He had planned to take the house, kick me out, and start a new life with Vanessa under my own roof. Instead, he'd just exposed himself as a man with nothing left to stand on.
I didn't yell.
I didn't cry. I didn't even ask him how long the affair had been going on. Instead, I picked up the divorce papers myself, signed them without hesitation, and set them back on the table. "You want a divorce?" I said.
"Fine.
"I'll give you one, but you'll be doing it without a house, without my support, and without ever using my daughter as leverage again." Vanessa, realizing there was no house, no security, and no comfortable life waiting for her, grabbed her purse and left without another word. Some people only stay for what they can take. When there was nothing left to take, she had nothing left to give. Daniel was left alone in the living room, stripped of the plan he thought would make him the winner in all of this. In the weeks that followed, my mother formally transferred guardianship priorities and updated legal protections to ensure Emily's stability no matter what happened in the divorce proceedings. I filed for full custody, citing Daniel's instability and infidelity, and the court sided with me almost immediately given his own admissions during the case. Daniel moved out with almost nothing, forced to rebuild his life from a rented apartment across town. Vanessa, as it turned out, had been chasing a lifestyle that never truly existed. Once the illusion collapsed, so did their relationship. I focused on Emily. I requested a stateside assignment so I could be present for her the way I always dreamed of being. We spent weekends rebuilding our little house into a home that finally felt like ours. No shadows, no secrets, no betrayal lingering in the corners. Looking back, I realized the greatest lesson wasn't about revenge at all. It was about quiet strength. I didn't need to scream or fight to win that day. The truth did the work for me. Sometimes the people who try to take everything from you don't realize how little they truly understood about what they were trying to steal. Daniel and Vanessa expected tears. They expected a broken woman standing in the wreckage of her marriage. Instead, they found a colonel who had already prepared for battles far tougher than betrayal at home. If there's one thing I want anyone watching this to remember, it's this: never assume you know everything about someone's life just by walking into a single room. Behind every calm smile might be a truth stronger than any lie built against it. Loyalty should never be repaid with betrayal. But when it is, the truth has a way of settling every score in its own time. I still hold my daughter's hand every single day. Only now we walk through a home that finally belongs to peace, a peace no one can ever take away from us again.